Morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. CC here, Chris from New York, Westchester County. It's 3/10/2023. Come a long way, guys. Us flat earthers I'm talking to.
Yep, it's CC time again. And no, the flat earthers haven't gone too far. But we'll see what he has to say this time.
Fantasy world, this absolute preposterous idea of a spinning wet ball in a vacuum. They just can't get off it. And they will think of every excuse in the world to fight it.
It's a nice place. Do you blame us for not going anywhere? The spinning wet ball in the vacuum? Yep, it's a nice place. We'll stay here for now.
Like the distance of the sun from us. It was based on mathematics of a light in the sky that's the same size as Earth. Now, that doesn't make any sense at all to me. How did somebody know that light in the sky was the same size as Earth, which determined the mileage, not the mileage, the miles the sun is away from us? Makes no sense. None. This is the math that they're working on. So their math, in effect, makes sense because the scientists have to make this math make sense in order for their so-called universe to make sense to the scientists that are going to school and getting their PhDs and saying, hey, yeah, the math works. But it's all based on...
The radius of the Earth and the Sun are quite different. The radius of the Earth is about 6,370 kilometers, and the radius of the Sun is 695,000 kilometers, so quite different. We also measured it by sending radar pulses between the Earth and the Sun and Earth and Venus. So that's another way we found out the distance between the two, not just by math.
With all the math, is nobody... And these physicists and all this stuff, they never go back and they never check the other person's work. They just go take it and go beyond. I want you to think about Saturn. I want you to think about Jupiter. I want you to think about gas. Yeah, that's right. Gas. Think about gas. Okay. These are supposedly gas planets in a vacuum. See, even when I was a kid, I never understood this. It never really made any sense to me. But of course, we got involved with this. Next. But little did I know that all of this shit that was being...
Scientists check each other's work quite regularly. If a scientist publishes a paper, it's usually put through what's called peer review, which means somebody actually goes through it. And we'll actually come back to the gas giants in a few minutes. But let's hear to Chris again.
It's exactly like the second one. All right, what was it? ID4 2. Remember that big ship that was like a quarter of the size of Earth? Or maybe even more than that, who knows? That's what's under Antarctica. That's why they're hiding anything. It's a big UFO!
It's not a huge UFO, it's a defense center left by the ancients. You never heard of the Battle of the Antarctic?
A scout ship has exited hyperspace and is heading for the planet's southern pole.
Ships approaching from the opposite direction.
Sir, we're about to get our...
They are not Goa'uld.
Defend that scout ship at all costs.
Prometheus.
SU.
Weapons fire coming from the surface, sir.
Break off course. Get us clear.
Of course, that was from Stargate SG-1, a science fiction show, not real. But I had to have a little humor with them. Now we're going to hear them talk more about Saturn and Jupiter and how they're not real.
So stupid. What's the highest plane on this supposed bowl that you live on? Antarctica. Not the Himalayas mountains. It's Antarctica. That's the highest plane. Why is that? That doesn't make any sense at all, does it? So how's your gaseous planets going? Huh? How could that be possible? Will you please think about it? Think about it. We were told in school, or in the school that I went to, actually, that there is a molten core of some sort, and that's what's holding everything together. Okay, so I can stand in front.
Okay, now if we're going to talk about how the planets stay together in gas giants, first let's talk about the potential energy in a gravitational field, and it's what's stated above, where is the gravitational constant times the mass of the planet times the mass of a small object divided by the radius. Then you have the kinetic energy, which is 1/2 the mass times the velocity squared. Do not know how to make superscripts in this editor. I don't know if you heard. Sorry for that. But if you heard it, it's just an error message on the computer. And then you solve for V, and you get the square root of the mass of the planet divided by the radius times the gravitational constant. Okay, so for the velocity of the escape velocity of Earth is like 11.2 kilometers per second, and the escape velocity for Jupiter would be about 60 kilometers per second. Now we're good, and you can do a neat little trick where you can find the mass of a particle, the maximum mass of a particle going at that speed can escape from the planet. By making it equal to the thermal kinetic energy. So for the Earth, it's about 9 times the mass of hydrogen, and for Jupiter is actually smaller than the mass of Jupiter. So everything that gets near the gravitational field of Jupiter gets sucked in. So that's why gas giants have a lot of hydrogen and helium in them. They suck everything in. The only reason that Jupiter didn't get enough mass to become a star like the Sun is because most of the mass was already in the center of the solar system in the Sun. So if it was somewhere else, it could have been a star.
In front of a perfectly still lake, blow a feather, and have it come down at a very light. You know how feathers fall. And meanwhile, the lake beside me of trillions of gallons of water is going nowhere. It's being held in. Oh, man. Some things for Think About It Friday. See if I can put a video out this weekend. Sorry about the dark.
The difference between a feather and the lake of water is mass. The feather has a lot less mass, so it takes a lot less force to make it move up compared in the gravitational field of the Earth compared to the lake. Seems pretty obvious. But thank you for listening. I've had to edit out some of the stuff, and I also had to edit out a few curse words from CC. But thank you for listening, and maybe I'll make another one soon. Goodbye.